Imagine never worrying about motivation again, because your content basically runs on autopilot. There are 5 systems I use to stay consistent, even when I don't feel like it. And it works all the time. So let's dive in. First of all, I want to clarify the difference between motivation and systems. Obviously, there is a difference and we should talk about it, because I feel like most creators are actually just running on motivation. They make a video because they feel motivated to make a video. But what happens if they don't feel motivated? Well, we don't see anything from them. We might not hear from them for 2 months after they come back just saying they didn't feel like making a video. Obviously, that's not the best approach for this business, since content is, in the end, the foundation for everything else you do. So in my opinion, it's a way better approach to have systems in place that actually bring all of this on autopilot and that get content out even if you don't feel like it. Even if something happens in your life, if you go on holidays or if your house gets flooded, well, there will still be a video coming. And that's what matters today. It's all about the output volume. I know it's very easy to get confused today with all these kind of metrics we have on all social media platforms: likes, subscribers, CTR, thumbnails, and so on. There's a lot to look at. But in my opinion, the only thing you should really care about is really just the amount of videos that you upload. What is your output number? Do you upload once a week? Do you upload every day? That's what really matters. And data has shown that the creators that have proper systems in place and upload consistently are way more successful. And not only do they show up more often, but they also just make way more money than the other creators that just run on motivation. Just a quick note, I'm actually hosting a workshop in the end of this month that is all about staying consistent. So if that sounds interesting to you, just click on the link in the video description and check it out. But more on that later in the video. So let's start with the first system that I think every creator should really have in place, and that's some kind of idea capture workflow. Ideation is probably one of your highest leverage activities that you could spend your time on. I know we have AI and all these things, and actually AI helps us with a lot of things in life, but we have to be clear with one thing, and that is that AI will never be able to replace human ideas, human emotions, human authenticity. So spending actual brain power on the ideation process is a well-invested thing, and is probably the easiest way to stand out these days, especially because everyone is using AI and unique ideas are getting less frequent. So this should be something that you should do and that you should actually plan in your calendar as a proper activity, as a proper task that you have to do on a regular basis. You know, you plan scripting, you plan video editing, so why not planning ideation at least once a week? So that's one part. But then most of our best ideas come actually in moments when we don't expect. You know, we go on a run, we go on a walk, we're in the shower, and suddenly an amazing video idea pops up in your head. And you should have some kind of system where you can capture this, where you can put this idea and use it later, process it later, and make a piece of content out of it. So I don't really care how you do that. There are a lot of different ways of doing that. You can use Notion, you can use Apple Notes, you can use Cortex, Readwise. There are a lot of ways of doing that. I don't want to specifically mention one method, but I just want you to have a space for ideas. Have a folder that you revisit on a weekly basis where you can just have a look at all your ideas that you captured throughout the week. And then you can decide what to do with these. But it's just really important to have this in place, because then you will never run out again of unique content ideas. The second system that I think everyone should have is some kind of batch recording workflow. Because let's be honest, it's not very efficient to record a video at a time. If you make YouTube videos, it's still kind of doable because you upload maybe once a week. But if you do Reels, you upload probably daily, and making a video on a daily basis is very exhausting and will definitely hinder you from being consistent. So I highly encourage you to have some kind of batch record workflow where you script or plan a couple of videos ahead. Let's say for shorts, you plan 7 videos for the next week ahead, and you record all of these in one session. Not only does this save you a lot of time with, camera setup, microphone setup, and all these kind of things that are just annoying to do all over again, but also you prepare yourself once, and then you just sit in front of camera and you record, and you just keep talking, move from one video to the other, and after you have 7 videos ready that just need to be edited, And the same goes for YouTube. I really want you to start thinking about that and actually implement that in your routine, because it just saves so much time. And also, it allows you to build a content backup over time. You script 4 videos a time, record those 4 videos, and maybe one of these videos you put aside in just like a folder separate somewhere, and that's like your backup plan. If everything goes wrong and you just don't have a piece of content for this week, well, you can still upload that video. And over time, you can build a library of 10, 20 videos that you can just upload anytime if you don't have anything else. I think that's super important, and it's just very easy when you actually batch record. The third system that, in my opinion, everyone should have is some kind of production workflow. That kind of goes back to the previous point, but in my opinion, one of the best investments I ever made was actually having a fixed studio setup like this here, where I can just literally sit down, press record, and I can talk to the camera, and everything is set up. I don't have to think about it. Because most of the times when you start out as a creator and you start making content, you will always have to set up. You set up your camera, you set up your light, you set up your mic, you do all these things, then you start recording. Oh, maybe you forgot to turn your mic on. Well, there are all kind of things that could possibly go wrong, and it takes you time to set up all these things. So why would you make your life more hard than it actually needs to be? In the end, we want to remove the friction of you having an idea and actually going to camera and talk to it as much as possible. Because as more friction we remove, as more content output you will in the end have. So I really recommend, if that's somehow possible, have a fixed setup, have a desk where you have your camera, where you have a light, where you have a microphone, and then you can just come here, press record, and record a video. It just saves a lot of time. Another part of the production workflow are obviously templates. And especially in video editing, that's a very wise thing to do. You can have a template for your video editing software. You can have a template for your thumbnails. You can have a template for scripting. You can templatize a lot of things here. And you can also have checklists. What do you have to do when you start recording? What do you have to do when you edit your video? A published checklist, perhaps. These are all things that make your life way easier and make sure you actually stick to the things that you need to do on a daily and weekly basis. And especially when you get later someone else on board, it's much easier. You can just give them the checklist and they know what to do. You don't have to explain to them everything over and over again. The next system that I would recommend you to have is some kind of output tracking. And I've mentioned that before, but in my opinion, the only metric that you should really care about is your output. How much content you get out per day, per week. That's really the only thing you should care about. There are likes, there are subscribers, there are CTRs, and all these fancy metrics that we like to over-obsess about. But let's be honest, if you're able to make more content, this content will likely improve over time, naturally. So if you're able to make more content and get that out consistently, you shouldn't have to worry too much about all these other metrics, because they will just follow. And if you want to stay consistent and upload, let's say, twice a week on YouTube, well, that's the only metric you should really care about. I got one video up on Wednesday, one on Friday, and that's all I need to care about. So I would really recommend you to create some kind of Notion sheet where you can just fill in every week your content target and what was your output number. And that's really the only thing. And then from there, consistency will come by itself. Also, another thing that I'm guilty of myself is just not limiting the time per content. I call this the content turnaround time, CTT. How long do you actually need to produce one piece of content? And if you don't give yourself a limit for the production time of one piece of content, well, it can go anywhere. It can go from days to weeks to months if you don't limit yourself. So I'd highly recommend you set a specific CTT for, let's say, one YouTube video. How long can it take you to actually make this YouTube video? And then stick to it. That's the most important part, of course, because if you don't stick to it, it's for nothing, obviously. So set yourself this time, and if you're unable to finish this piece of content until the time is over, let's say I want to make a video until Friday, and I'm not done on Friday, well, then you just gotta publish what you have. You probably have a video that looks relatively okay. You maybe haven't added the last few effects, the last few fancy edits, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just get it out, and for the next video, you have a chance to make things better, to get faster in your workflow. But I think having a limit is really important, and just makes it so much easier to be consistent. And the last system I want to mention is some kind of coming back protocol that you can follow if life happens. Because we all know life happens at some point. You know, we go on holiday, your house gets flooded, your friend needs help. There are all possible things that can happen and that can go wrong. But you need to have a plan in place that you can actually follow when things go wrong. So it's important to think about it beforehand and not just as an afterthought, because that was for myself a big reason why I was not able to stay consistent for a long time. Because always when I went on some kind of holiday, I went there, came back, I just didn't know what to do. I was 2 weeks behind with my content, and it just took me like a few days to even get back to the most basic things. So I would recommend you to have some kind of checklist. What do you have to do if you come back from a holiday? If you were sick, what are the next steps to get back on track? Or even the other hand around, or even some kind of pre-planning list. So what do you have to do before you go on a holiday? Because that's the best case scenario if you actually plan beforehand, before you even go away for 2 weeks. And that really makes sure that you stay consistent on one hand, but also you don't waste your time after you come back and you don't know what to do. And it just makes your life so much easier. And I think everyone should have something like that in place. And last but not least, I just want to finish with that thought. It's always better to have something than having nothing. So if you have some video that looks relatively okay, but you're not happy with it, well, just upload it. Don't care about it. It's always better to publish something than nothing, because the algorithm will ultimately reward how consistently you can publish content. Because when you think about it, who says what is good or bad? That's in the end your own mind telling you, you know, your taste, your experience in life. Obviously, you know how a good video looks like, you know how a bad video looks like. But for some other people, what you think is bad might be amazing for them. And it could go the other way around as well. So in the end, it's a very subjective way of thinking. So you should never really judge your content in that way, thinking like, oh, that's not good enough to upload. And just really go and define your MVC. What is your minimum viable content? It could be as simple as just a talking head without any editing. And the lower you go with that barrier, the easier it actually gets to make content. Because suddenly you don't need this fancy video anymore that has all these edits and all these B-rolls and so on. Suddenly all you need to do is actually just having a talking head video where you talk for 10 minutes and you're ready to go. So really setting the barrier low for yourself makes it just way easier to stay consistent over a long time. So I really hope this was helpful. But if you're still struggling with consistency, I'm actually hosting a workshop in the end of this month where I go all over these systems and provide specific templates for all these things, so you actually really can stay consistent over an extended period of time. Because I know from my own experience, it really sucks if you have all these ideas, but you're just stuck with your perfectionism, your limiting beliefs, you just don't have the right systems in place, and you just can't upload on a regular basis. So if that sounds somehow interesting to you, check out the link in the video description and maybe see you there. So thanks for watching today, and see you in the next one.